Hello and welcome to another edition of Exotic Gardening UK Yorkshire Kris Weekly on this very sunny morning here in Wakefield, West Yorkshire. And we're in mid-October now and it really is time to get the most tender plants in. So in today's episode we're concentrating on taking tender cuttings, getting the most tender plants into the warmth of the greenhouse, and we'll be also looking around what else we need to start protecting and bringing in over the next few weeks. Now it's time to actually take some cuttings, and these are the plants we're going to take cutting on today. We've got the Iresine here, we've also got some Plectrancthus, various types, and we've also got the Solenstomum or Coleus as well. And they're all done in exactly the same way. So we get a nice healthy stem and we just cut below a node, like so. We remove the lower leaves, pull off the little tiny leaves if there's any present, and then the big leaves at the top, we want to cut them back by at least half, so use secateurs to do so. And then that is a cutting, and it's a good idea to get your pots ready. So I've already prepared some pots of multi-purpose compost. I'm going to take a few cuttings at a time, put them in the pots, give them a good water and put them in the propagator. Another way of doing this is to basically go around, take lots of cuttings really quickly, put them in a plastic bag, and then you can take them into the house and put them all in a vase of water, and they'll actually root in water, and that's a very easy way of getting them to root, and it also means you can then go back to them and pot them up at a later stage. So it's time to take some more cuttings and then I'll show you them potted up and then in the propagator. So I've got quite an array of cuttings already in here. So I've got my Iresine, I've got my begonia, and now I've got my Plectrancthus at the front. And what I've done, I've got these square pots, very loose compost, and I'm putting 4 cuttings in each little pot, and ideally get them all to be roughly the same sort of size. You don't want really elongated ones, really soft growth. You want them, to be firmish growth, and you don't want anything that's flowering at all. So if you just place these in the corners like so, like I said, it's very loose compost this, so it doesn't matter that I'm pressing this down. If you had firm compost, then yeah, use a pencil or something like that just to make your holes, and that's job done. All I need to do now is give these a good water. A good tip is to use tepid water from the house rather than a cold water butt or something like that. And then this will go in a heated propagator or a windowsill. And here they are, sitting in a nice warm propagator that's kept at about 25 degrees at the base. And then I'll put the lid back on to keep the humidity in until these have rooted, which will probably only take about 2 weeks or so. And also in this propagator I have brought in my most tender collocages, and I've removed most of the leaves because when you dig these up they do wilt quite easily, and if you take off most of the leaves it stops that. And also if you've got lots of pests or potential pests, if you remove the leaves then you're taking away the pests from the leaves like red spider mite and things like that. We've also got another collocasia and some cuttings I took a few days ago, and most of these are still looking good. There's a couple of limp ones, so I'll probably give those a bit more water, and they should be well on the way to rooting now. And in this pot, this is the onset Hiniba that was in the ground by the gunnerer. If you remember a few weeks ago, it was in August actually, I cut this down and so I chopped it into 4 parts partially, and then if we look in the centre we can see we do have growth. It's not clear yet whether or not we're going to get just one plant growing back or whether we're going to get lots of pups, but either way it's alive. I'm hoping for lots of pups. It's a good way to propagate this type of banana which doesn't offshoot like the mousers do. So that's a propagator setup. There's still a little bit more space for some more cuttings, So the ones that I've done on the windowsill indoors will be potted up once they've rooted and be brought into the propagator. Now these have been on a windowsill in the house for about 10 days. I basically just got the cuttings and put them in some water. And if we just pick one out, so this is a Solenstormen or Coleus, and we look at all those lovely white healthy roots. So this can be potted up now into some compost and kept nice and warm above sort of 12 to 15 degrees to keep it happy over winter. So as well as the tender cuttings that I've done today, I've also brought in most of my very tender plants. So that includes things like, well, house plants like the Swiss cheese plant, Monstera here. We've also got begonias that are on the tender side. So I do leave a lot in the ground outside, the ones that are tuberous, but the ones like this, these cane ones, which are tender, I do bring in. So we've got the Begonia fishoides here. And we've also got things like this, which is very interesting. This is the tapeworm plant. And this looks so much healthier than when I planted it out in spring. So that's had a nice summer holiday. We've also got a couple more begonias that I've had as small little plug plants a few months ago and just grown in small pots over summer. And let's see what else we've got. Oh, we've also got the Begonia luxurians here. We've got the parlour palm in the corner just down there, and I've also brought in my Brugmansias or angel's trumpets. These are actually in pots all summer. They were dotted about the garden, and really these were in these pots last winter, so I did top dress them, gave them some fertiliser, and they're looking not bad, to be honest. And before I brought these in, I've checked over for any bugs or pests as best I could, removed any dead leaves and just gave them a good once over. And I don't want these really wet, so basically the ones that I've just dug out of the ground, like these begonias, I'll give them a little bit of water, but I don't want them soaking at all, so they'll be kept on the dry side if possible. So that is my tender plants. This here is my Coleus scandens or cup and saucer vine, and grown these from seed in spring, and it's been very vigorous. Here it's grown up some old bamboo canes from the bamboo that died a couple of years ago, and I brought the canes, made a wigwam in spring and then put these plants out in June, and as you can see they've grown way above here right to the top, so they're approaching 3 meters tall. And we've got these amazing flowers. They sort of start out as sort of these 5-sided structures, and then the flowers start bulging like this, and finally we get the cream and orange cup and saucer flowers. And it's been very late to start flowering. It can start flowering in July in good years if you start them early, but for me I start them a little bit late, and next year I'll start them a bit earlier so I get flowers earlier. This has been nice to see at the end of the season coming into bloom. Thank you for watching this edition of Exotic Gardening UK. Join me next week where I'll be doing more in the garden.